One of the things I want to talk about is that, first of all, anything that you hear me say that's pretty cool or offensive doesn't have anything to do with Cisco, right? So the views and opinions of my own. So what I want to talk about is it's 2019. Companies are spending all this money and they're still getting compromised. They're still getting hacked. And the reason is because a shift is happening. So there's a paradigm shift of things that are happening in the industry of how cyber criminals are monetizing their attacks and how we should respond to those particular attacks. So you hear all the time things about disruption, right? Disruption economy, that you can't find a Circuit City anymore, right? You can't find, you hardly ever find now a Barnes& and Noble because of Amazon, right? You can't find a Blockbuster because of Netflix. So these are the things, the disruption of the general economy, but we want you to think about the disruption of the hacker economy. So there's two main points. Depending upon what security report you read, is either a $2 trillion industry or a $6 trillion industry. Either way, you can make more money doing cybercrime than the global drug trade. The second thing is that is a shortage in talent. So we all know that most of us, you have one or two or three people on our team, and then you always have that go-to guy, that guy that can never go on vacation because if something happens, they're going to call him anyway. So these are the things that we have to think about from a disruption perspective, and these are the things that the bad guys are looking at. Now, as we look at cybercrime and how it evolves, right, this is how it used to look like when you bought credit card dumps on the internet. Now, this is how it looks like. Now, say, for example, if you don't want to go on the dark web and find things, you can just go to Twitter or Instagram and you'll find people posting their credit card numbers out there online. So that paradigm shift that you need to educate your customers to make sure that they're not one of those guys. Now, when hackers make money, it's a little bit different. So we hear this term fake news and bad news. So about a year ago, maybe 2 years now, Apple was supposedly compromised. Now, they actually weren't compromised, but this hacker group said on a certain date in March, they were going to release all this information. So everyone's waiting for this stuff to happen, to drop. And as people wait in anticipation, the stock market starts going down for their stock price. Because the bad guys, what they were doing a put option on the stock. Once they found out that it wasn't an attack, then they did a call option on the stock. So they actually made money and didn't have to do any type of attack. So this is how they're monetizing and making money, by just putting out bad news or fake news. Now, we hear this stuff about going to the cloud and this whole 9 yards, right? So the bad guys do the exact same thing. So this is something called the Black Hole Exploit Kit. Now, it's defunct, but when in this heyday, it costs 10 grand a month, right? Now, if you have a problem with an exploit, they had 24/7 support as well. So you're going to hear three terms that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about vulnerabilities, I'm going to talk about exploits, and I'm going to talk about indications of compromise. Now, vulnerability is this. If you have a Honda Accord, nothing against Hondas, but let's say you get that recall in the mail, right? And it says every 40,000 miles, guess what? The brakes cut off. Now, an exploit would take advantage of that. So say, for example, I wanted your brakes to cut off at 1 mile or 20,000 miles or whenever I want to, that's an exploit. Now, there's little things that let me know an exploit has happened, and that's an indication of compromise. Now, I'll use this analogy. If you have children, the adults in one room, your 5 and 6 year olds in another room, and it's their birthday party. The adults are having a good time, then all of a sudden, it just gets quiet. That's your first indication that you need to go in the room and see what's happening with those 5-year-olds, right? When you go in the room and they look at you in unison, that's the second indication that something is wrong. And when you ask, son, what happened? He says, Daddy, he did it. That's your third indication that somebody has exploited something and taken advantage of a vulnerability. So those are the things that we're going to talk about as we dive down this shift. And all companies are infected. So in the last week, we just talked about, or we heard about Symantec and Trend Micro and McAfee, right? We don't know if they were compromised or not, but the simple fact that somebody took advantage and put it out there. Now imagine this. You graduated from college. You did pretty good. You got a 4.0. You got a degree in computer science, information risk, cyber assurance. You have all the buzzwords on your resume because it's all keyword search, right? You're a go-getter, so you get your Security Plus certification. You see this ad for this company called Come By Security, and you apply for the job. You go in, you get the interview, and you get the job. So now you're on the red team, right? But you're a go-getter. So you study and get your CEH, your Certified Ethical Hacker certification. Your boss rewards you, and he makes you the team lead, right? So now you make the money. Now the problem is this. Your mom is computer savvy as well. So she's watching the news, and she sees something about this credit card breach that happened. So since she's computer savvy, she starts searching and finds out that the company that you work for is actually a Russian shell company that comes to the U.S. and actually finds jobs, right? They do pen testing assignments. They do red teaming assignments. And they take that same data, that same information, and sell it on the dark web. Now, in our minds, we think about shell companies laundering money. We never think about a shell company or somebody going that far to go get legitimate business, do an RFP, and actually get customers and then exploit them. So this is that shift, understanding how far these bad guys will go. Now, let's take it a step further. When you think about the FBI cybercrime, you think about nation state, you think about that lone guy in high school, and then you think about hacktivism. But this is a cyber criminal now. So this is Olga. She's a cyber criminal mastermind, all right? Some people are thinking she looks like trouble anyway. But she went off about $30 million. So our mindset has to shift of who these criminals are and how they're monetizing. Now, if I find a vulnerability and take advantage of an exploit or find an exploit, I have three things I can do. I can release it in the wild and get a knock on the door by a three-letter organization. I can go to the company, Microsoft, Facebook, whoever I find an exploit to, and let them give me a pen, a T-shirt or something. Or I can go to an exploit broker, completely legal. So this is the French company, and this is what they do for desktop and servers. So now you see, 10,000 to a million. Now, what if you do something mobile? It gets up to $2 million, right? So these are the things that we have to contend with, that not only do we have to worry about somebody who's a cyber criminal, but what if they want to sell it to an exploit broker, which is completely legal, and put the stuff out there for some government state to actually take advantage of it. Now, you don't have to be a James Bond criminal to get this stuff. 22 lines of code used twice as far as stealing credit card information and breaching. And all this happens because somebody clicks on a picture of a cat, and then all this stuff takes place in the background, right? So now people aren't doing ping sweeps and Nmap scans, the things that you typically see in an organization. They're doing something a little bit trickier. So people make the best exploits. You'll see this as a common thing. So instead of me hacking just the individual user, I want to hack the camera. And as I hack the camera, I want to move laterally in front of the network. How I move is this. I'm going to go through the switch, and I want to get to your Active Directory. So I want to take control of a laptop, run something called domain controller sync, make that laptop think it's a domain controller, and sync up with your Active Directory. Now I have the keys to the kingdom. So now as a network engineer or security professional, you have to figure out, well, what's the good traffic versus the bad traffic? Now, how effective is your security posture? So what I'm going to do is just talk about a few things that you can do in your own organization that can help you determine your state of your environment. Now, I don't want you to think about going to the dark web. We're just going to use Google and the internet and basic tools to find stuff. So the first thing is just finding Bloomberg, right? With Bloomberg, I can find a list of people who I want to attack. Now, based upon that list of people that I want to attack, I'm going to put that in something called Have I Been Pawned? And this is going to give me a list of databases of people that have already been breached. Now, if I don't know the email address or I don't know the exact same syntax, I can use Hunter.io to figure that out. And then once I have all this information, I plug it in, and then I get the people who I want to get. So when you educate your users, they shouldn't use their corporate email address to sign up for stuff. I had one customer, the CEO used his business email address to sign up for Ashley Madison. That should never happen. He should know not to do that, right? So education is key. And then also from a social media perspective, you have to think about what's being exposed, what's being out there. So this young lady got engaged, happily married. Now imagine this. When you get an email from Gmail or Hotmail, or hopefully you're not using Hotmail, from one of your friends, you don't check and verify, do you have a new email address? You just take it on face value, right? So imagine that this young lady gets an email address, will get an email from one of her friends, Gloria or Susan or Sandy or somebody, and they say, congratulations on your wedding, on your engagement. I'm going to send you an engagement gift, so what is your address? Because I lost my address book. Now she's happy because she's getting married. She's going to send that address book or the address because she wants that engagement gift. And then since they're going to Vegas, the person knows when to come to the house to break in. So you don't want to leave too much information on social media because people will take advantage of that. Now, another thing is bug bounty programs, right? So a tool I like to use is Open Bug Bounty. So sometimes when I'm with a customer, they finally realize that they have an unpatched cross-site scripting problem or application that they didn't know anything about. But everybody in the whole world knows about it. The application team may not know about it. The security team doesn't know about it. And the networking team doesn't know about it. So being able to track or monitor public vulnerabilities through some sort of bug bounty programs is key, because now the bad guys, they track this stuff. Now, what's worse than getting hacked? Getting hacked twice. So Pastebin is a nice place to find stuff in. So when I found a denial of service attack, I found a bunch of passwords, and there's one person at the bottom, September 1980. He changed his password 1980 September. But he was going to be real tricky, so he, instead of the 1, he used an exclamation mark, because that's really going to trick them. That's going to trip up the bad guys, right? But you see the pattern of passwords that people use. So he probably used that same corporate password because he's kind of lazy with it. So his Bank of America, his Chase, his Facebook, his Twitter, they're probably all the same. So you want to make sure that you educate your users to the point where they understand the importance of not reusing similar passwords or the same passwords. Now, worse than getting hacked twice, finding your information with Google. So we all see Google and we type it, we do our searches and stuff, but Google has these operators. So I can go to the Google Hacking Database and I can find specific operators for Google. So I can look for recycle bin, index of for backup pages. And what I'm doing is finding stuff that I can take advantage of for directory traversal. So these are the things that I need to think about. So when you're doing your statement of work for a pen test or red team assignment, sometimes they don't do this. Now, most of us have heard of Shodan. And when we look at Shodan, we don't sometimes see the value of it. So I did this about a couple of weeks ago, Windows XP in the US. Shockingly, people are still using Windows XP. Now, if you're from a manufacturing, let's see if I can find programmable PLCs out there on the internet. So we don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that my PLCs shouldn't be publicly accessible on the internet. Now, maybe people are running SMB version 1. So let me see if I can find that out there on the internet. But you as an individual may need to do that for your particular company. Now, the beautiful thing about it is, once I find out who's running SMB version 1, I don't have to be a James Bond criminal to figure how to hack it. I can use my Google Kung Fu and figure that out. Or spend some time on YouTube and figure it out. Now, you hear something called Metasploit, which a lot of people use. So Metasploit came around in about 2010, 29 or so. And they had a virtual machine that you can use to practice your attacks called Metasploitable. Metasploitable has something called Apache Tomcat JSP Engine version 1, right? So this is an old vulnerability found at least by 2010. Now, if you want to practice hacking that particular vulnerability with an exploit, you can just do a walkthrough. There's people who document how to do it. But guess what? This is 2019. 1.5 million people still use that same vulnerable software. So now you have to think about patch management. And this was done, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, I'm looking at SMB. Shodan, that they're real kind to people. So they have a button where you can just click and it'll find the exploits for you, so you don't have to research it. So knowing is half the battle. So one of the things that you want to do is to say, let me understand my environment. Because if I don't know what to protect, then I don't know what to protect. So one of the tools that I like to use is something called Spiderfoot. Free, open source. It runs on Windows and it runs on Linux. And with that particular tool, when I go into a customer, I can find S3 buckets. I'm not supposed to find S3 buckets. Now, if you don't know how to take advantage of that, don't worry. Google Kung Fu will show you how to do that. I can find SSL certificates mismatch. If you don't know how to take advantage of it, don't worry. YouTube and Google will show you how to do that. If you have or want to use VirusTotal to look at your domains in your environment, you can do that. And it all boils down to that the bad guys and the good guys are using the same tools, but they have a different goals because they have a different approach and a different motivation. So let's talk about things that you can do when you go home. Number one, the dark side of the brokers. Spend some time and make sure that you opt out these data brokers. It may take you a couple of hours or 3 hours, but spend some time to do that. The second thing that you need to do is stop using Google. And if you want to use Google, use something that has the power of Google, but it doesn't track your searches on the web. So you can do DuckDuckGo or Start Page. And then depending upon what you do in your spare time, you may not want to have Gmail as your primary email address, but use something that the United States government doesn't have subpoena power over, which is ProtonMail. And then when you go into hotels like this and you jump on the internet, you want to make sure you VPN. Another thing is knowing the endpoint, right? Knowing what data is actually on your endpoint. And then you can understand what's the patch level of those data points, because if it's not patched currently, then there's probably a vulnerability. If there's a vulnerability, then there's probably an exploit out there already. And then finally, use your cell phone as a cell phone, right? So don't use their Facebook games on it. Don't put Instagram and all this other stuff on it. Just use it as a cell phone. And then finally, this is a pretty good open source software that does advanced malware protection, but it only runs on Windows. But that's okay because I'm in the security business because of Microsoft, right? So this is something that you can put on your relative's computer that's running Windows. And at the end of the day, I want you to have a nice day, but shift happens. I don't want you to end up like this lady right here. This is Patricia. She works out of the UK. Her boss was on vacation, and what she decided to do was to help her boss out by transferring $250,000. Company didn't like that, so she made the news and they sued her for it, and they fired her. So 2 things. Probably don't want to work in the UK because they sue you if you make a mistake. But you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that person who the bad guys find slipping because they're very creative in how they take advantage of people. Any questions?